welcome to a little podcast we like to call SlamBall Nation. If you're a returning listener, welcome back. I'm sure the nation is like a calming tea for you at this point. And if you're a new listener, you may be wondering what you're getting into. Well, it's pretty simple. This is an insider podcast hosted by two head coaches of the greatest sport on the planet, SlamBall. It's the crossroads of analysis, stories, and interviews. I'm your co-host and head coach of the world champion mob. Yes, I did bring my ring today, gentlemen, just to make sure that you guys could see that world champion mob right there. And I'm joined as always by the animated, the astonishing, the amusing, and sometimes the alarming, and those are just the adjectives that begin with A, head coach of the Buzzsaw, Hernando Planells Jr. Coach H, what's shaking, my man?
Well, hold on here. Let me take a picture of greatness here. Hold on. We got to take a picture. Boom. Got a picture of greatness with the camera on today. And listen, if you're listening to this just audio, then you are missing a true treat if you're not actually watching this on the YouTube. All right? That's what you, and when you, Bryce, Bryce is our guest today, but when you get over 40, you start putting the word the in front of everything. So it's like the YouTube, the Walmart, the SlamBall, like all those everything. But beyond that, I'm excited. I'm here with two great icons of the sport. And let's get this thing rolling.
I love it. All right, it's hard to believe, Coach, but this is actually our 9th episode of SlamBall Nation. So If you do the math, if we do 9 more episodes, then we have done as many episodes of SlamBall Nation as the mob had wins in Series 7. So maybe we'll get there. Who knows? But we've got a fantastic episode for you today. Coach H and I are joined by a gentleman who played a critical role in SlamBall's return. He was the very first draft pick in U SlamBall, and as such, the face of a lot of its marketing. He's the Lava's star gunner, Bryce Moragne, and he joins us today. Bryce, welcome to the nation, my man.
Appreciate you all for having me. Man. Good to see you all.
All I know is we have FAMU royalty. That's all I'm saying. Coach BK, I know you know nothing about FAMU. You know nothing.
You got to get it right.
What?
FAMU.
We were just talking about colleges because I was I live in Florida. I had to do the whole state Florida trip to take my daughter to colleges down here. Right. She just wants to go to college near the beach. She's like pitching me on all these college things like, oh, this one has good this one has a good program for this. But every single one she wants to look at is like, is it 5 minutes to the beach or is it not? So I hear you. Well, Bryce, we're excited to have you, man. I mean, there's a lot to touch on for sure. I mean, you played a critical role, like we mentioned, in being the face of SlamBall, whether you liked it or not, because you were the first overall draft pick. But before we get into that, I think you do a lot on the side for SlamBall. You're interviewing players. We'll talk a little bit about the new thing you're doing on Instagram, SlamBall Saturdays. But just tell us a little bit about your story and how your journey led you to SlamBall.
Man, I honestly love telling this story because it's just so much that happened in my life, like this past 8 years, to where it's just so much. And I just love telling this story all the time. But originally from Tampa, Florida, born and raised, went to Hillsborough High School, the most historic high school in the city of Tampa. Got a chance to play basketball there. I was actually in the IB program for a minute there. So it's kind of like a real rigorous program that they have. Played basketball there. So coming out of high school, I actually had a couple of Division II offers, a couple of junior college offers. And both of my parents are educators, really my whole family. Like my granddad was the dean of a college. My mom is a teacher. My dad's a teacher. So my whole family is full of educators. So they weren't really big on me going to junior college. They just wanted me to go to a 4-year university. So I ended up going to Florida A&M as a preferred walk-on. My high school coach called my college coach, kind of put in the word, and I was able to go there. And at first, obviously, didn't get a lot of play. By my sophomore year, started to play a little bit more. My junior year is actually when they offered me a full scholarship. And then my senior year and my graduate year is when I was the captain of the team. I led the team in rebounds both those years, second leading scorer both those years. So I really, really did have a tremendous college career. And then following that, obviously with COVID, because it's around the time frame when COVID happened, I got a chance to get another year. So that's how I got my grad year. And that's when I started to work towards my master's. So I got another chance to play basketball and work towards my MBA. So I actually ended up getting my master's in business administration in 2022. And then following that is when I had an opportunity to go play in the 3-on-3 Dos Equis, what do you call it? 3-on-3 Dos Equis, like FIBA basketball championship. So this was during the NCAA national championship down in New Orleans, Final Four weekend. So basically what they do, they get the best players from each conference. So I was a part of the SWAC. So, and you pretty much play against all the other conferences. So it's the SWAC versus the SEC, the SWAC versus the ACC, SWAC versus the Big Ten. So I'm playing against all these different guys. And this is technically my first official professional contract because each game that you win, we get paid some money. So the goal was to win as many games as you can. I think I left New Orleans with like $3,000 or something like that just for the little 2 days I was there. So it was a real cool experience. And throughout that whole process, obviously there were some overseas scouts there, some agents, and I had the opportunity to go play professionally overseas and whatnot. But with me getting my master's, I had a job opportunity working a corporate position right out of college. So obviously weighing the pros and cons, it was like, okay, do I want to go overseas? There's a chance I might not be in the country I want to go to, or do I just go ahead and take this great opportunity working a corporate position for a good company, making good money off the rip? So that's ultimately what I ended up doing, working this corporate position. It was Mondelez International, originally known as Nabisco. So they own like Oreo, Chips Ahoy, all the big snacks. And it was an accelerated management program. So I was doing that in my different rotations. And I think I was in about my third rotation is when kind of everything changed. So keep in mind, I'm still going to the gym. I'm still lifting weights. I'm still going to play basketball. And every time I go to the gym, like I'm playing with overseas pros, G League guys, and they're like, bro, why are you still not, pursuing basketball? And even like some older guys in the gym, like they'll come up to me like, oh, what NFL team do you play for? Because at that time I'm like really lifting weights, really trying to get big. And I'm like, I don't play sports. Like, I work a 9 to 5. Like I just come to the gym just for cardio. And one of my old college teammates, we have a group chat. And again, this is around my third rotation. So this is around maybe April or May. He sends a text in the chat that's like, guess who wants me to come and play SlamBall? Or guess who wants me to come out and play in their league? And he sends SlamBall. I'm like, SlamBall, that sounds so familiar. And he's like, yeah, bro, SlamBall, where they used to hit people, you dunk on people and everything. I'm like, dang, that sounds cool. And he was like, well, I'm not going to do it because he already had something else set up for himself. So I told him, well, I want to do it. Like, that's something that I feel like I want to do. And this is during a time where, yes, the money is good for my job. Like, everything is lined up perfectly to where I can be set. But I still felt like I had something left in the tank. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to just give this opportunity, just take this chance. So he linked me up with Rob. And, man, it took 10 minutes. Rob called me, and he was on it telling me everything about SlamBall. And I sent him my film, sent him everything. Well, actually, it took me a little minute because once he told me, I was still a little skeptical. Like, okay, you're telling me that a sport that's been going for 10 years is coming back. You're going to pay players to come out. We're going to Vegas. I'm just like, no, this just can't sound right. So it took me a little minute. And then I actually ended up sending him my film and sending him everything. And he called me back 10 minutes after that. He's like, dude, you are going to be a problem. And when he told me, I'm like, you're probably telling everybody this, Rob. Like, I'm not really listening to you. You're telling everybody this. But no, he was like, seriously, dude, you have a chance to come into this league and be a true problem. Because at that time, he thought I could play stopper or gunner. And then from that point on, the rest was history.
All right, now hold on a second. I've got to. You bypassed a couple things that we've got to talk about. First of all, you said one of my favorite words, Oreos. So I don't know if you have any connections. I would like to be an official taste tester of Oreos down the line. That's the first part. The second part that you kind of casually brushed over is when you said this. Like, well, I just went to the gym and, all these guys thinking I play in the NFL and I'm playing college basketball. And I said, no. I just come here to condition. Bryce, whatever. Listen, ain't nobody tell me when I go to the gym, oh, that dude looks, I don't ever say, no, I'm just here for conditioning. You are like, oh, no. I just keep lifting. I keep working out. But I'm just here to condition against all you old heads and to show you what I can do. But that's my 2 cents. I had to say it. But really, seriously, man, I love Oreos. I love Oreos.
I got you.
There you go, Taylor. It's another sponsorship lead. Mondelez International and Oreos. We've teed it up for you. Now, Bryce? Like, the one thing I would ask: did you watch old SlamBall, or was it something that like you did a deep dive on once you talked to Rob?
I heard about SlamBall. Like, I saw some videos of it, but it wasn't something that I religiously watched every day. But I definitely heard about SlamBall, knew about it, watched a couple of videos. But it wasn't until I heard it was coming back is when I really took a deep dive, and I watched every single SlamBall game that I could, like every single thing. And we can touch on it later. But I was doing everything that I can to give myself the best chance at being successful at SlamBall.
That's awesome. Who were some of the players, or like one player from old SlamBall that stuck out to you as a guy that you maybe wanted to emulate?
Originally, it was Jelani. Not gonna lie, it was definitely Jelani. But I mean, I watched so many games to where like every single player was just so amazing. Like TA was crazy. Obviously Stan, really everybody. But I take that back. Really, it was between Jelani and Whit White, because he was kind of linky. He was real linky, and I like the way that he kind of transferred the ball. But really, Jelani, because of just how aggressive he was, and he didn't talk too much. He really didn't talk too much, but he really proved it on the court. So.
Yeah, those two players were, I mean, Coach can attest, but they were dogs, man. Like when Coach and I were lucky enough to coach old SlamBall, he was the head coach of the Bouncers, and I was still coaching the Mob back then. But man, you hated going up against Jelani Janice and Whitney White. Like Whitney was so dirty, and he hated us. Like the Rumble hated the Mob and vice versa so bad. But Whitney, I'll never forget when he invented that he would get into the side bed with the ball, throw it off the glass, and then immediately – off of one catch, like get right back in the side bed and go attack. Yeah. It was so dirty, man.
Yeah. You know, Bryce, one of the things, you know, as you went through SlamBall, one of the things as you were watching film, like what were you saying to yourself? Like, I can do this stuff since I can't cuss. Like, were you envisioning the type of player you could be besides Jelani Whitney? Because obviously when people watch players like, I like the way he plays, but there's another element that you do really well. Like you're super explosive off tramps. Now I know that sounds crazy because there's tramps already involved, but the way you caught on to it so quickly, the way you just powered your way right from almost the beginning was amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that, Coach. And honestly, I don't know. I feel like me naturally being able to dunk kind of just helped me a lot. But man, I don't know. I think just watching some of the film, I think everything that was displayed, I knew that I could do, because here are guys who have kind of been in the same position as me, former athletes, might be doing something different now. I think you all were a little older, maybe, because I was 24 when I started. So some of those guys are probably like, 26, 27. So here are guys who are older than me doing it. So I knew for a fact that I could probably do it.
Yeah, and to Coach's point, you took to it so quickly. I think all of us were kind of blown away at training camp. I mean, there was, like, Coach, we can talk about it at some point, but there was very little thought outside of Bryce Moragne is going to be the number one overall pick. I think whatever team got that number one pick, that was going to be the pick. But how did you take to it so quickly? Like, did you go to tramp parks, or were you on trampolines at all before you came?
Yeah, so actually right before, once Rob called me and told me that I had an opportunity to come out there for Super 24, I immediately went to Sky Zone. I got a membership for a month membership, because at that time I had like a month to prepare. So I went to Sky Zone, started jumping, and my girlfriend, she's actually a former cheerleader, and she did a little gymnastics, so she has a little bit of experience doing that. So we were there every single day. We would go to the gym, I would obviously lift weights, play basketball, and then right after that, we're right to the trampoline park, and she's showing me how to like control my body. She wanted to teach me how to flip, and I was like, I don't flip. Like, that's not what I do. I'm not flipping at all. So we were in there faithfully every single day, and that kind of helped me a little bit coming into training camp. But really the biggest thing was once I got there, and once obviously the coaches, the players were starting to give me the confidence, telling me, hey, you're doing this so well, that's what really helped me. Like, okay, I don't have anything to worry about, any fear. I'm just going to go out and just jump and dunk the ball. And that's ultimately what helped me.
You know, I'm already envisioning this, Coach Kirsch. You and I could we could pool our money together, because there was a movie at one time called Love and Basketball. Now we're going to change that to Love and SlamBall, because now Bryce, again, we're going to do a quick recap. Bryce just gently dropped in that his girlfriend was an ex-cheerleader who's trying to teach him. That's so cute. Come on, babe. Come on. You want to flip a little bit? Then you work with Oreos, which I love. Then you're part of the IB program in high school, which is if I'm correct, it's like the International Baccalaureate program, which is big time. Like, this is unbelievable. I hate you already, Bryce. because I feel like I'm talking to the perfect human specimen. I hate you. I hate you. I hate you. And I will say this first, right here on the SlamBall podcast. I did try to make Coach Carlson not pick you because I had the second pick. I was like, no, you should definitely not take Bryce. He's definitely not the number one pick. He should come the second pick. But that's besides the point because I got Taekwon Squad and I love Taekwon. I love you, Taekwon, but I'm just telling you. That's what's going on in my mind. Loving SlamBall, Coach BK. Keep that in the back of your mind. You may be coming back in the movie business, my friend.
Investors, maybe you. Who knows? I love it. No, that's awesome. And to Coach H's point, Bryce, I think we could do a whole episode on the trade offers and trade discussions that occurred with the number one overall pick as soon as Coach Carlson and Coach Bailey and the Lava realized that they had it, because there were many discussions that took place during that time. But it all worked out for everybody. So what was your thought like when you walked out on the SlamBall court for the first time? I always like to ask that question because I remember the first time I walked out on the SlamBall court, I felt a connection. I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I couldn't wait like a little kid to jump on the tramps. What was your experience the first time you saw it and walked out there?
Honestly, my first thought, I was scared. I'm not going to lie to you. I was so scared. Well, because first, my experience really starts before I even got to the SlamBall court. So I don't know if this is a question that you have in the future, but leading up until SlamBall, when I knew that I had a chance to come out there, I'm looking up everything SlamBall, looking up old footage, going on Instagram. I'm scouting, so I'm trying to see who's going to be out here playing. So I'm opening the SlamBall page. I'm looking to see who's liking pictures, who's following. At that time, you came out with your Instagram, you're posting stuff. So I'm like, okay, let me see who's liking Coach Kirsch's post. And I see Cam Hollins, I see Zoe, I see Tony. And okay, so there's Cam Hollins, a professional trampoline dunker. Then there's Tony Crosby, a professional dunker that doesn't need trampolines. And then here's Zoe, a guy who jumps over cars. So I'm like, I stand no chance. So then I get out to the SlamBall court, and on TV, it looks so smaller. Everything looks a lot smaller. And from the top tramp to the rim, it looks so far. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way in the world I'm going to be able to get from the top tramp and dunk all the way to the rim. So I walked in, and ultimately I was scared, but just being in the environment, seeing that a sport that I used to watch is back, it was just truly amazing, truly a blessing. And yeah, it was just something that was just so surreal. You just walk in, it's just like, dang, I'm really here.
That's cool.
Well,
and a lot of people don't know too that it's the top tramp is where the college 3-point line is.
Yeah.
So for any of the fans or any of the audience watching it on TV, if you're like, man, how far is that top tramp? It's like hitting the tramp is like hitting the college 3-point line and going to the rim from there. So it is a lot farther than people think. Sorry, Coach.
No, you're good. I was just going to say that, listen, I love that you talk about the fear factor involved, because I think that's what a lot of athletes don't talk about, number one. And number two, right, you step on that court, which wolf are you going to feed? The one that is scared of what's going to happen, or the one that you're going to attack it? And I tell you what, man, you attacked it with everything. So you go through training camp, first couple of days, you scout everybody out already. You're like, all right, I think I can do this. As time went on, and in the group of your friends that you were earning and getting, what was the talk of the draft? Oh man, I think I'm better than you, or was no one I have no idea who's going to be the first pick?
It really wasn't until the last week of training camp, leading up into the draft, that we kind of had an understanding. But before that, it was really unclear. And keep in mind, my house, that's all we used to talk about, because obviously, we came and we were in the Airbnb house. This was my house. This is 5050 Pearl Street. It was me, Cam Hollins, Tony Crosby, Amir Smith, Justin Holmes, Mike Kalawale, and Christian Gray. So I had a crazy house. My house, put us on a team, we might go 18-0. That's all I'm saying. So that's a crazy.
No doubt.
Yeah,
that's a good team.
So we're every day, we're driving. Each day we drive to camp. We're like, all right, who's gonna do what better? Then we leave camp. We're like, okay, who did this better? We used to rank each other every single day, and it really was competitive for us, and it was really fun just to be able to do that. So it wasn't until the last week that we kind of knew all right, here are the placements. Here's our top 3 gunners. Here's our top 3 handlers, our top 3 stoppers. But honestly, I mean, you touched on it a little bit. I didn't know that I was going to be the number 1 overall draft pick until probably the combine. That's when I knew. And the reason for that is because, so obviously I tried to build great relationships with all the coaches throughout all the training camp. And everybody had a lot of, talking to me. Jelani was talking to me. Both of you were talking to me. I talked to everybody in depth on what I could do better, how I could succeed. And then it's funny because the one coach or the two coaches that I talked the least to was Josh and Dion. They don't really talk to me that much. So then we get closer to draft night that week, and all of a sudden the coaches that used to talk to me and give me advice, they're not really talking to me anymore. And Coach Josh starts coming and talking to me out of nowhere. I'm like, I never talked to you before. Like, that's so weird. And that's when I knew, okay, the draft order just came out. I knew he had the first pick. So I knew he was probably going to pick me. But even then, like during the combine, it was still unsure because in my mind, I'm like, okay, the draft is like the next day, or it might have been the same day. I'm going number 1. So I'm going through the motions, like really not trying to do too much of the combine. And he's like, hey, come here. You need to turn it up and prove that you deserve to be the number 1 overall draft pick. And that's something that Coach Josh told me that kind of stuck with me. And it just kind of showed me how charismatic he was and how much this sport meant to him and what having the number 1 overall draft pick meant. So yeah, it wasn't until then that I truly knew I was going to be the number 1 pick.
I think one thing that what you guys had that no one else has had in SlamBall history, and maybe not in sports history, is the fact that you start a sport that very few have played. You all come into the workout facility, you try out, you're in the car, almost like fantasy sports, saying, hey, what did you do great today? What did I do great today? You have those butterfly feelings. It's totally different than NBA pre-draft combine or NFL combine because everyone's played that sport before. They have proof of how they played. And now you're in this thing where everyone is at ground zero, all leveled out. And now you're paying. Like, I'm going to encourage it, Bryce. You should write all this stuff down because these are experiences / feelings that you'll never, ever have. And no one, like the next batch of SlamBall guys, won't have that because there's already veterans. The old guys at SlamBall didn't live together. They were just all lived in LA. Like, those are great, great things that you're doing. And I'm sure you're writing all this stuff down. But as you're going through your SlamBall journey, like in the moment where you just like, I can't believe I'm freaking doing this. And I'm so glad I'm no longer tasting Oreos and everything that Nabisco has to offer. And I'm doing SlamBall.
No, I mean, you're so spot on, Coach. And I love, and Bryce, to go back to your point about the coaches not talking to you anymore right before the draft, that absolutely happened. Coach H was the first one. He was like, why would I give him advice anymore? Like, I don't want him to be any good. He's going to be in the lava. he didn't say that. But I do think it is interesting because if you think about what this training camp is going to be like, imagine how intimidated the new players are going to be coming in to their first training camp experience, having watched the entire last season on ESPN and seeing you guys and looking up to you guys. And now you guys are in training camp with them competing for spots. I mean, let's be honest, you're not going to be competing for your spot, but there's going to be players competing for spots with some of those players. I mean, that's a crazy concept to me.
No, it definitely is a crazy concept. It's going to be a completely different environment. And I think that environment is going to be a lot better than how we had it, because obviously we were competing amongst each other. But now, like you said, not knowing how the draft is going to work, there's going to be guys who are at the bottom of some teams that are going to be competing for not only a roster spot, but to stay in SlamBall in general. So I think it's going to be a real competitive environment. I'm really excited to see it.
Yeah, no doubt. And there's also, you have the advantage of you guys as current players are going to be able to teach the incoming crop of athletes so much. You know, the old players that were there they taught you guys so much, but they hadn't played it in 15 years. Yeah. You know, and the game evolved. Like, let's be honest, it evolved. It was played a lot more within the slam zone with new SlamBall than it was back in the day. So it's not a different game, but it definitely has evolved. So you guys are going to be able to teach them so much, which I think is really, really cool. So one of the things that I did want to touch on, because this was kind of critical, you started to get banged up a little bit in training camp. And that led to, if I recall correctly, I know you were still very active with your team. I remember you being out there not being able to practice, but you were still coaching the team with Coach Carlson and Coach Bailey. You were still very active in that. But talk a little bit about the injuries that you started to get during training camp and how that impacted you.
Yeah, man. Truly unfortunate, but the first injury was actually, I want to say, the first week of team camp when we started the scrimmage. I went up for a backside lob, and I want to say I didn't get it, but I was like 12 feet up in the air, and just being a basketball player, naturally, you're so used to like shooting a fadeaway or jumping off one foot and being able to land on one foot. That's something that I, obviously playing SlamBall, I didn't really grasp yet, that you have to land on 2 feet. So coming up from 12 feet in the air, I'm off balance. I try to land on 1 foot, and then you got Big Vince from the Ozone. He's already in the trampoline, already slanted. So when I came down, ended up tearing 3 ligaments, and that's like the worst pain I've ever been in my life. Like, I've never had a serious injury. My only injury was like a broken nose, and nothing comes close to that injury right there. So I tore those 3 ligaments, went to go get an x-ray, MRI, got all that. And the timeline was actually 4 to 6 weeks. So that would have put me at around the third week of the season. So I'm like, damn, bro, this is really a bummer. So in my mind, I'm like, obviously everything happens for a reason. God puts us in places for a reason, does things. But my mindset was just like, you know what? I can't miss. I got to play the first game. That was my mindset. I told Joey that. And the training staff, they did a tremendous job. Like, everything they did to work on me, to get me back, was just tremendous. And I had a pool. We had a pool in the back of our Airbnb. So every single morning, Coach, we talked about this about Quantum Roberts. I used to watch his podcast, go eat breakfast, do it. And then right after that, I'm in the pool every single morning from the time that I woke up to the time it was time to leave for camp, just trying to improve my ankle, doing baby hops and stuff like that. So that was the first injury. Ended up coming back the week before the first game. And originally when I came back, they told me I can't get in the trampoline. So I was like, okay, cool. I still get to run around, still get to run a couple plays. And it was the next day, the day that I was actually able to get in the trampoline, I got hit from Q of the Ozone, and I actually ended up spraining my AC joint in my shoulder. So, and that's right, my ankle. My ankle was only like 75% then. Now I got to deal with a shoulder injury. And originally when it happened, I thought my whole collarbone broke because my shoulder was just really inflamed. So I thought it broke. So I was like, I thought my shoulder broke. So that happened. But obviously that healed a little bit. So first game comes, we play the Slashers. I'm probably like 75, 80% with the ankle. Played through that, played 2 games. And then the third game I tried to go up for a takeoff, and then midair I think it was Josh cutting from the side tramp. Tried to throw a lob. I missed the whole island, and 1 foot actually landed in the bottom tramp. So the same ankle that I just tore 3 ligaments wasn't fully healed. Kind of messed it up again, tweaked it, and that put me out a little bit. So dealing with that, it was real difficult. But ultimately, the training staff, they did a good job of keeping me mellow-headed and just helping me along the whole process. My coaches, my teammates, everybody was there for me. And it was actually a good thing because my girlfriend, she came like the next week after I got hurt. She was actually there. So she was able to kind of help me, do things I couldn't do, get in the shower and stuff like that. So it was kind of good that she was there for just support, because obviously I didn't want my teammates helping me get in the shower. So it was pretty good.
That would have been a scene omitted from the future movie Love and SlamBall.
That's right.
Now you're going through all this, and the first part of the season, the lob is struggling a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Actually, a lot. So you're dealing with the injuries, and you're also trying to help your team. Talk about the mental strength it takes to get through your injuries, stay positive and full of energy. Because I saw you, like you were, like Coach was saying, you're out there giving your team love and energy, and then also trying to get your team on the right track, because it's tough for coaches and players when you're like, oh shoot, I can't believe we're in this hole that we're in right now.
Yeah, it was really, really hard. And obviously, Coach Josh and Coach D. Well, Coach Josh is a very fiery and passionate dude. We all know that. He's very passionate. Coach Dion, like when it comes to coaching, or not coaching, but like the actual game, he's more chill. But during practice time, he was like super on us about everything. So me coming in, I could see like the players were getting frustrated. Obviously, the game plan we had coming in was scrap. So we're starting back from zero. So they're trying to implement all this new stuff, and I can see the guys getting frustrated, pissed off. And I could have easily got pissed off with them, like, bro, we're going to suck, we're going to be trash. But ultimately, I was just trying to encourage everybody. And you hear this a lot. People say that the injury, even though I got injured, it was kind of one of the better things that happened for the Lava, because it gave players like Jihad, Josh, even Pax, like a chance, even Nate, even a chance to excel their talent. Because me personally, once Pax got drafted, I didn't think that Pax was going to be able to help us at all. Not that he wasn't good, but I just didn't see with the talent that we had, how was he going to see the court? But with me getting injured, him playing handler, I could see that he was an exceptional handler. So through all that, it gave those players a chance to really exceed the expectations I have for them, on top of just staying mellow and staying calm through it all.
Yeah, no doubt. And the two things that I want to touch on that, first, going back to your injury, I don't think people realize it happens all the time. First, what you mentioned, the first injury that happened to you coming down with Vincent Bowman in the scoring bed, that's the most common injury that we have in SlamBall. Injury rate, very low. Most of the injuries, if they last longer than just a day or two, happen in that scoring bed when two guys are coming down at once. So it's awesome that you pointed that out and knew exactly what the issue was. The other part about SlamBall is it takes such a toll on your body within the slam zone and on the court and transitioning back and forth and being so high in the air that you're using all these different type of muscles. And Bryce, I know you know this, that you don't usually use in basketball or any other sport that you play. It's stabilizer muscles. It's all these things. So when you end up having one thing wrong with you, it's really easy in SlamBall to have that lead to other things because you're overcompensating and don't even realize it with certain muscles. I do remember that Latavius Cotton hit. Laquavius Cotton hit. I do remember that. I remember watching that scrimmage, and if I recall, there was a dirty hit going back the other way that the refs didn't call, and that was almost a retaliation hit that was made, and it sucks that happened because it was easily avoided. So yeah, absolutely. And then I think you're right. I'm so glad you mentioned this, Bryce. I truly believe that one of the things that impacted the Lava's turn into becoming like the most successful SlamBall team down the stretch in the last half of the season was the fact that you weren't available for some of those games, because that team learned how to play without you. And then all of a sudden, when you got healthy again to be able to enter it in the lineup, it was almost like you guys became unstoppable. Because to your point, Shockley improved, Shannon improved, Paxton improved, all those guys improved. Fessel Shafat, unbelievable back there at stopper. So when all of a sudden they're having to play together, and they weren't losing games by 20 points. Like, I think there were 3 or 4 of those games that were decided by one bucket. And so now all of a sudden you insert you back in there, and all of a sudden you're a tough out. So talk about that a little bit. Like, what did you see? What was the big change between you guys starting out 0-5 and then finishing the season 4-1 and getting into the playoffs?
Yeah, like I said earlier, going into the season, we had a completely different game plan, and you all talk about it on your podcast, but Coach Josh, he did have a real legitimate playbook with some really, really good plays, like stuff that I think if we implemented that, we would have been really tough to beat, really, really tough to beat. Obviously, with injuries, we couldn't do that. So I think just getting accustomed to the offense that they switched up was really the biggest thing, doing that, and then the handler play. So I ended up coming back, and just the handler position was just it was an area we struggled in. You can hear Coach Josh talk about this. Like, Pax and Nate just weren't as strong as they needed to be as handlers. I think that in SlamBall, in terms of ranking the most what's the word I'm looking for? Valuable positions. I mean, I think it goes stopper, then handler, then gunner. So we had a great stopper, but our handlers were just not up to the level that they needed to play. So just understanding that, getting Pax and Nate more involved in the offense. And then once I came back, my whole mindset was, when I came back, I was still kind of not 100%. So I wanted to be a decoy because nobody truly knew how healthy I was. So I think it was the Rumble game, the game we actually won. I got in for the first time, and each time I'm going like I'm going to do a takeoff, and I'm just landing on the island and distributing the ball, just passing the ball. And I think that kind of helped us. And now, currently, this is like a little news flash. Going next year, I'm going to be a handler. I'm not going to be a gunner at all. So, and I talked to Coach Josh about this. I'm definitely going to be a handler. And I think
Breaking news. Yeah. Breaking news is always here. on the greatest SlamBall podcast ever. Go ahead, continue. I apologize, Bryce.
Yeah. So I did. So yeah, that was really it. Just understanding how great we had to be at the handler position, learning the new offense, and I think that's kind of what helped us going into the playoffs and just going through the rest of the season. But through it all, Coach Josh, he stayed positive. Like even throughout on the court, he just seemed so pissed off and so mad. Once the game was over, man, he's such a nice and kind dude. Like he'll bring us donuts. We'll watch film every day. We even came. I think Coach Hernando, we came to you all's house. Like we did so much stuff, and he was just a real good person, real good coach. And I'm just very thankful that I got drafted him.
Josh Carlson off the court is one of my favorite people on the planet. I mean, he is a gentleman. He is a wonderful human being. And on the court, I just want to punch him. I just want to punch him as hard as I can because he's such a brat and he's so fiery. I remember, I think you guys played on opening night on ESPN. You played on opening night. And when I got home, I turned on my phone and I had text messages. And like my mom, my wife, my daughter, they were all like, who is that head coach for the Lava? He's such a hothead. Like, he needs to calm down. It's like, oh, that's Josh Carl. He's nothing like that in real life. He's just like that on the court.
Yeah, it was.
But that's awesome. So this is, you're going to be a handler. You're going to play handler. Are you going to play like handler or are you going to be a hybrid like handler gunner?
I mean, I still would like to be a hybrid, just having that extra level to be able to do certain things. But coming in, my main position is going to be handler because a lot of people think that just because, SlamBall, you get to dunk on people, that's the most exciting. I mean, don't get me wrong, that is exciting. But me personally, I like distributing the ball. Like even when I play basketball 5-on-5, I like to pass the ball. I like to get others involved. And not only that, it's easier for me to get involved in the offense myself because I don't have to worry about somebody having to pass me the ball. And another element to my game that I didn't really get to display this year that I thought I'll be really successful at was being able to freestyle. I did it a little bit, but I wasn't truly able to do it. And I think just by playing the handler position, being able to get small guys off me like Tony, Cam Warden, yes, they're very small. I can really move them out the way. But being able to move guys like that out the way and getting the spring bed, freestyle, and do things like that, I think that's something that I'm looking forward to.
Well, everything you're just talking about is Jelani Janice. And it's interesting that you mentioned that was a player that you watched from old SlamBall because the beauty about Jelani was he looked to distribute first. And that was the key to the Rumble's success. He would look to distribute first all the time. But when he needed to go attack the rim, you weren't going to stop him. Right. Like when he made up his mind, he was like, we need a bucket. I'm going to attack the rim. Mm-hmm. He was going to score on you every single time. So, and you do have that skill set, Bryce. Like I think that's going to make the Lava very, very dangerous. Do you think that you moving to handler is going to allow the Lava to run this next gen Lava Josh Carlson based offense that we've all heard so much about?
Well, the original offense, the original offense was more so predicated on me playing gunner, me living in the spring bed and just doing a lot of things around it, shooting, throwing backside lobs, which could have been advantageous. But with me playing handler, I actually just talked to Coach Josh. I mean, I watch film all the time. Like I go back and rewatch games all the time. I know he does. And he just texted me and told me, he really wants me to take a deeper dive and looking at different things I could do better. So I'm pretty sure leading up until next season, we actually have plans as a team to go out to Phoenix to see Coach. We're going to put together like a little game plan, something strategic moving forward to where I can be advantageous as a handler and also just get everybody else involved.
That's awesome. I love that.
I have
that
no
really
comments.
Is kind of breaking news on SlamBall Nation.
Yeah. I have no comment on all of this BS that is happening right now on this podcast, but it's fine.
All right. So we talked about you guys kind of had that turnaround. You start 0-5, you finish 4-1. You're firing on all cylinders. No team really wanted to face you in the playoffs. What were your expectations for the playoffs? Now you're part of the semifinals. What were your expectations heading in?
We were just going in to win. Like you said, like we had the fire behind us. Not everybody, but there were definitely teams in the league that feared us. I don't care anybody. There were teams that feared us. They want to play us at the time. We were probably the hottest team. Despite not being 16-0 like the Mob, I still feel like we were the hottest team. So come in, we just wanted to win. And we felt like we had what it takes. We were clicking at the right time to compete for the championship. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because leading up into the seeding, I think we played the Slashers first in the Buzzsaw. That was the two games we had. And I think the Buzzsaw and the Slashers, you all were competing to see who got the first seed or the second seed. And going in, we were told that, okay, if we win both these games, we will be on the opposite side of the bracket as the Mob. Not because we were afraid to play the Mob, but just because we thought that would be, good storyline for a championship matchup. A team who hasn't won that much, you all talk about on your podcast, little rivalry. I think it's a rivalry. Coach Hernando does. Just a little rivalry. I think that was a good storyline. So going in, we wanted to win both those games that we could play the Mob in the championship. Obviously, it didn't work out that way. We ended up playing you all anyways in the semifinals. But ultimately, that was just our main goal. We were coming in to win, dominate, and we thought we had all the right pieces, and we were clicking.
Yeah, as you should have. No teams wanted to play you guys. I mean, our players didn't care. Like my players and I are always, well, not always, but we're at odds a lot. Like I don't want the target on our back because I don't want them taking any additional hits. They don't care. They love the target on their back. They don't care who we play. I don't want to play the lava. Like you guys were peaking at the right time. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's no good choice. You want to play the Buzzsaw or you want to play the Slashers? Like there's no good choice when you talk about those four teams, but certainly nobody wanted to play you guys at that point. What do you feel like needs to happen for the Lava in order to win the championship in Series 7?
Yeah, I just think if everybody comes back with the same mindset left off, like my mindset right now is like we should have won. We should have been Series 6 champions. And if we come in with kind of that fire under our butt, like, all right, we didn't get the job done. It needs to be done. We've seen how great we can be. Obviously, it happened later on in the season, but if we can learn to come into the season already playing at that high level and then surpassing that, I think the sky's the limit for us. And then obviously, with just being able to draft different players, if we bring in one or two maybe gunners to just add on to what we already have with Josh and Jihad, I think it's going to be really, really scary for the Lava. So I think that. And just being coachable, we struggled as a team. Well, not myself, but just as the Lava in general, we struggled for being coachable. We struggled with being coachable. And that kind of hurt us a lot during the beginning of the season. Because, again, Coach Josh is a fiery dude. Coach Dion is a fiery dude. So we struggle with that. So I think if we can kind of learn and adjust moving into the next season, we should be good. We should be good. So that's our goal. We're trying to win the Series 7 championship. That's my only goal. That's my only goal going into next year, honestly. That and just trying to stay healthy and finish out the whole season.
Now, as you have all these grand thoughts of you winning Series 7, I mean, it's crazy. Besides you daydreaming of those amazing goals, what I'm just playing with you, Bryce. What have you been filling your time since SlamBall ended? Like, what have you been getting into? I think a lot of people want to know also, what does an off season look for a SlamBall player such as yourself?
Yeah, so obviously, I've been doing like SlamBall Saturdays. So that's just like my chance to just be engaging, bring the players in, let the fans hear from different players about kind of like what I'm doing, my journey. So basically podcast style, but in a live session. So I've been doing that on Instagram. Outside of that, me and my girlfriend, we have a social media platform that we, do funny skit videos, comical stuff. I do that. But really the biggest thing, I've just been giving back to the community, going to talk to different schools, talk to different players. I actually got a chance to coach a middle school basketball team. We went 0-5, but that's not what really matters. The biggest thing was I was able to give back, shed some light on, what I've been through, how I've got to where I am today, do that. And really rest. Rest has been the biggest thing for me, really rest. I just recently got back in the gym. I did do rehab when I first got back for my ankle. My shoulder is actually fully recovered. So I went to a specialist. He's certified, or he works with all the MLB players. So he kind of helped get my shoulder right, because obviously shoulders in baseball. So he helped get my shoulder right. And my ankle's pretty much at 100% now. So I just started back playing basketball and doing things like that. But really, it's just rest. Like I haven't done much. I didn't go back to my job because at the time it was told to us that, we would be doing something right after Series 6. Right. So my mindset was like, okay, I'm not going to go back to my job, which I didn't do. So I've kind of just been chilling here, relaxing, coaching, doing some small stuff here and there. But I've just been getting my rest. That's all.
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that SlamBall, and this was the way it was back in the day too, there's nothing really to do for that 7 or 8 month period where you're not either in training camp or in a season. And so you kind of go and do your own thing. Noah Ballou, I remember after his first season with us in Series 2, he moved to LA and he was like, I'm going to get in shape. I'm going to be here for SlamBall. And he ended up doing stunt work. He became like a stunt man out in LA. And that's what he did in between SlamBall seasons. So it is interesting to see what all of the SlamBall players are doing during the off season, not only financially to make sure that their needs are taken care of, but also physically as well. And one thing you mentioned that I would like to point out for any incoming players, my personal opinion is that if you have access to a tramp park, especially one that has Aussie style beds, for anybody listening, Aussie style beds are the type of trampolines that we use on the SlamBall court. It's not like those. The trampoline that you have in your backyard is not the type of trampoline that we use on the SlamBall court. But if you have access to a tramp park, I would go. And Bryce, you mentioned you did that. You were incredible during training camp. I know that Brian Bell Anderson did that here in Orlando where I live because I went and saw him as his dad, Trevor, was training him a little bit out there. He was fantastic. I would just recommend don't overdo it because that's the thing. Like Coach and I know this because we're not, I mean, Coach, you're in better shape than me. I'm not in that great shape. But when you get out there on the trampolines, you were using muscles that you never use. And so I went out to my local Sky Zone knowing that I was going to have to get back into the court. And I jumped in the trampolines with my kids for like, I want to say maybe 30 minutes. And my back was locked up for like 4 days. Like I could barely walk. So that's why I think it's important to get those muscles activated, all that kind of stuff that you want ahead of, but don't overdo it. Because I mean, you can overdo it real quick at those places and set yourself up for injury. So one of the questions I had for you, Bryce, is Fessy. Is Fessy coming back or do you know, or what are his plans? Because he does all that stuff on the side, like with reality TV and that stuff.
As of right now, Fess is coming back. We plan on Fess being our stopper. That's what happens. But, you know, things come up. You know, he might get invited to do something. I mean, last he told me he had an opportunity to do a show. I'm not going to touch on that because that's obviously his business. But he said that he would be done before we start back up in whether it's April or May. So we should be fine. So as of right now, Fess is still has plans to be our stopper, which is good.
That's awesome.
Look at you. You're so your media training is phenomenal as well, too. I love the way that you say things like, he's going to be our stopper. You know, we fully plan on him coming back. I mean, what are you, the GM of the team? What's going on around here?
Hey, they call me Baby Bron for a reason. I'm like LeBron James, man. You're a GM and everything.
I love it.
Hey, number one pick, Coach, too. I mean, we touched on it. I do want to know this, Bryce. You knew that as the number one pick, SlamBall was going to gravitate to you for a lot of the marketing. You knew that, and they did. For anybody that doesn't know, SlamBall really loved Bryce and wanted to lean on him for the marketing. Did you feel any additional pressure throughout the course of the season, especially with the injuries, knowing that SlamBall was leaning on you so hard for that stuff?
I definitely did. As soon as I got drafted, that's like the first thing that came to mind. It was just, here's now I'm the number one draft pick, so obviously there's everything associated with that. But now there's the creator Mason saying he's the most well-rounded player that SlamBall has ever seen. So I'm like, obviously it was great, you know, to hear that from the creator of SlamBall. But now it's like, dang, I really got some big shoes to fill. So now my mind's like, okay, I can't be a bust. I can't. Every single time I step on the court, I have to play at the best of my abilities and just do everything I can to show people that, okay, I understand why he deserves to be the number one pick. So yeah, I definitely was thinking about that a lot. And then even Quantum Roberts, he asked in his little a little survey, a team survey, he asked about players being overrated, underrated, and the overrated player, the player who got picked the most for overrated, was myself. And it's funny because he asked me to be a part of the little survey, and I said myself, I said my very first response, I said I wouldn't be surprised if players put me first just based off the fact that I went number one and I didn't live up to the expectations of, you know, what everybody expected. But obviously that was due to injury. So, I mean, it is what it is. But coming in the next season, that's why I say my biggest goal is to just finish out the season, because if I can stay healthy 100%, there's stuff that I know for a fact I'm going to be able to pull off that we haven't even seen in Series 6. And I've sat down, I've talked with Mason, I've talked with Stan. We watched some of Stan's old film, and he feels like there's some stuff that Stan used to do that nobody's even done before that I could definitely do. So I'm super excited. Super excited.
Well, I'm going to give you this piece of advice. Like, listen, you know, Mason Gordon, our illustrious CEO, my buddy, my former bouncer player. You know, he has this thing. He always like puts pressure on you because you're the most all-around player. I understand because he pulled me aside. I don't know if he told you this, Coach Kirsch, but he said, you know, Hernando, you're the most handsomest, engaging coach in all of SlamBall, and you've got to step up. And I was like, Mason, I appreciate that, bro. Thank you. I mean, you're not lying, number one, but that's besides the point. So, Bryce, I understand. We're on the same page here. I understand the pressure that comes when the CEO tells you something amazing. I'm just kidding, Mason. You never said that, but I know all of you are thinking it. It's fine.
There's something not right with you. All right, Coach, I want to know, what's your scouting report, right? What's your scouting report of the Lava? You're looking at them heading into Series 7. Are you nervous? Do you want to play them? What's your scouting report of them?
You know, wait, you were asking me, am I correct? You're asking?
Yeah, I'm asking you.
No, I tell you what, it's and I've said this publicly, even said it to Coach Carlson's face. And Coach Carlson, I owe you a phone call. Don't worry, I'm going to call you back. I was a little worried about the draft. I was a little worried about their draft. And then as the season went on, and then I'm watching them and everything else, and I see the team growing and everything else, and now you have size at the gunner position. Now you're going to play handler. Breaking news that you're going to play handler. That's a big team. That's a big, burly team that can be very physical. And then, of course, with, you know, Coach Carlson's breathtaking new offense that is coming from space, you know, we're all 5 players, because Josh is going to find a way to find another player who's going to be all in the tramp at the same time, and then Josh will throw the lob himself. I think it's a dangerous team. Quite honestly, all joking aside, you guys are a dangerous ass team. I tell you, when we played you guys, and I was without you, and we that was the craziest game I've ever been a part of. But you see the heart of your team. That is, I think, the most dangerous thing of your team. The heart to continue on and to always play like you're the redheaded stepchild. No offense to redheads. I love y'all, by the way. You know, so it's like you have that. And I think going into Series 7, I guess is what we're calling it, you guys are a dangerous team. But I always say this. The Buzzsaw doesn't shy away from nobody. We're coming for you, Bryce. We are coming for you. In a nice way, of course, in a very respectful way. But we're coming for you, Bryce. That's all I'm saying to you, brother.
Definitely, I'll be ready.
That's an excellent scouting report, Coach. Excellent. Bryce, what obviously you develop friendships on your own team, but what are some of the friendships that you have with players outside of your team within the sport?
Oh man, I mean, I'm really cool with everybody. Like, that's one thing we hear about when we just talk SlamBall. All the players just talk about it being a brotherhood, a family, and it truly is. I mean, I can't stress that enough. Like, even during the season, I talked about all those guys that were in my house. None of us played on the only 2 people that played on the same team was Amir and Tony. Those only 2 guys. So everybody else were on different teams, but we kept the same group chat. We called it 5050 Pearl Street. That was our home address, and we were talking in that constantly. Even to this day, you know, we still sing happy birthday, happy New Year, stuff like that. So I'm still constantly talking to guys, but me and Tony, we hop on the game, hop on the stream all the time. I talk to players on my team all the time. And then just the SlamBall Saturdays, me doing this gives me a chance to talk with players that I didn't really get a chance to talk to as much during the season. So that's another thing. So I already got a list of players lined up that I want to talk to, not only for other people to hear that story, but just me personally. Like, I never got a chance to truly. Really, it's a lot of guys on the bus. Like Jamal, Ralph. I really haven't talked to those guys. I don't know. You guys shy? I think the bus all have a bunch of
No, we just, I mean, if you just look at our overall appearance, starting from the head coach, listen, we're some hard asses. Oh, I said a bad word again. Listen, we don't talk to nobody. We don't talk to nobody.
I see. So yeah, I got a list of people lined up just to talk to, but I try to stay in contact with as much of my SlamBall family as possible, because again, it's just a brotherhood. It's just nice to know I can talk SlamBall with somebody, even with it being gone. You can still talk about the sport and truly enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, no doubt. Now, in our way too early Series 7 predictions, Coach, where did you have the Lava at?
I know.
You had the Lava at 4? Where did he have you at?
I think he had us at 3, actually. Maybe Pat had us at 3.
Okay.
You had us at 3.
And I had you at
I think it was either 5th or 6th or 1st, either one.
Right.
Right.
Except don't forget now, I built in all my back end loopholes because I specifically said if Bryce Moragne is healthy,
right,
they're competing for a championship. But if he's not, 5th or 6th. All right, but this is the beauty of having an insider podcast, Bryce. You now can address us directly and say, tell us how stupid we are.
Yeah.
I think those are pretty proper analysis, if I'm being honest. I think I wouldn't say, and this kind of goes, obviously we talked about like the Florida State thing, how they didn't get picked into the championship, the Final Four. But I think even without me, I think the Lava are still a top 3 team in the league. And they showed that. They clearly showed that this past year. I didn't come onto the team. And even when I did come onto the team, I wasn't really doing much. I was just passing the ball, distributing. And they got themselves in a position to where we could make the playoffs. It wasn't Bryce Moragne. It wasn't Bryce Moragne's team. It was Jihad, Josh, Nate, Pax, Fess, like everybody, and obviously the coaches. So I think that was a pretty great analysis. But we're definitely going to be the number 1 team going into next year. We're definitely going to win the championship. Not even close. Buzzsaw, we're not worried. Mob, we're not worried. 16-0 season next year. You can kiss it goodbye. I like you all to go 0-16.
You know what?
I love it.
Bryce, I'm telling you right now, you have the makings of being a great wrestler. I mean, just right there, like now, that last part, if you say with a little more like just anger, passion, like throw stuff, like you'd be a top wrestler right there. Like that little soundbite was tremendous. I love it. I'm going to play it over and over again to the Buzzsaw. That's all I'm saying.
Locker room fodder. I love it. Bryce, we are so lucky to have you, man. Like, all jokes aside, you are a fantastic first pick overall for New SlamBall, man. You're well-spoken. You're highly intelligent. You're a great human being. And on top of that, you're a great teammate and a great player. So we have the utmost respect for you, brother. You know, we like to mess around and talk SlamBall and all that kind of stuff, and we make a lot of jokes. But, man, you are so good for the sport. We're so respectful of you. So glad you could join us. So thank you for that. And Coach, I mean, you can take us out of here, but I already know our promo is going to be Bryce Moragne telling the world that they're going 16-0 next year.
Yeah, I don't need to take out anybody. All I know is that, Bryce, let me tell you something. Loving SlamBall. Just think about it. I think it'd be really good. You know what Coach Kirsch forgot to say, and I'm sure your girlfriend said it, you're probably a wonderful boyfriend. I'm sure she would say that. I don't know. You're not agreeing, so maybe she won't. Well, maybe. I mean, well, all right. There you go. With it, but yeah, seriously, man, you are fantastic. You are a true testament of what future SlamBall is going to look like, and you're freaking amazing. I have to go have my crazy outro with everything else. All I know is I'm using every single word you said on this podcast as a soundbite. As a soundbite, Bryce. We coming for you, brother. We coming.
He's going to chop it up, and he's just going to send it to the Buzzsaw and be like, listen to all this talk Bryce was talking about you guys, and that's all they're going to get. I love it. We appreciate you, brother. Thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you all. Thank you for having me.